Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings, where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Last weekend saw the return of T, and he dutifully took another lights-to-flag victory. The drop rounds have helped the multi-time champion, but he walks a knife edge, knowing even little errors can cost him valuable points now. Will he keep up the winning streak here in Spain? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Barcelona came about a decade after the era of this car, so let's head down to our track guide to learn a bit more about it. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get a pass done. After that, your next hope might be into Lakaja, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day. Well, this place has a reputation, and if the drivers find themselves in a single file, Joey, I don't think they should be too surprised.
No, it can definitely have a little bit of a train mentality with the downforce levels that are produced here at this racetrack, but we are running that historic layout, so a little bit of a change on the back half, running 13 turns today, a little under 3 miles in length, and probably your best passing opportunity is down into turn 1 off of the longest straightaway, but also look down into turn 10, which is slightly reshaped over the last handful of years, because if you get it wrong out of the high-speed right-hand sweeper, can set up a good passing opportunity. And then, like I mentioned, the change in the layout, no chicane there through the turn 16 complex. We are going flat out onto the front straight here today.
So that should hopefully give some chances with some high top speeds down into Elf. But chances are interesting in the championship as well. You can see 1 point between Andy T and Juan Costa. Now, the interesting thing is T took another victory, but he failed to get the fastest lap again. It was Topi who managed to snatch that from him. So his disappearance is bookended by a failure to get the perfect points that he prided himself on at the start of the season, and that's cost him a chance to be leading coming into this round. Now, again, he has those drop points to help him, but he can't really afford to have an accident in these last 2 rounds because Costa's been very consistent. He showed up a lot more than Andy, so Andy basically has to run perfect, but he seems to thrive in trying to do that. Gernot Frisha, unfortunately, though he looks like he's within the points because of the drop rounds, he's mostly been locked out and is down in third over everybody else. Timothy Reed could still try and do something. We'll see what happens. From there on down, look at the huge jump to Viekainen, 200 points there to the leader, and basically 100-some points to Timothy Reed. It's just been the haves and the have-nots out there in the F1 standings. But what about the F2 standings for this season, Joey?
It is a very tight battle right now between Jason Clapper and Jack David Spickett. You see only 3 points separate these 2 competitors out here. And then also don't count out the next few. You see there are only a handful of points separating Olivier Verhagen, Miguel Moreland, Keith Herner, and even Barry West. Consider him in that championship fight as well for those couple runner-up positions. And then falls off a little bit further down with Juho Raina, Kirk Clapper locked into a battle, and then 9th and 10th, Bjorn Ackerman and JF Godin. Kind of just getting some points between themselves, trying to sort it out for what will be the 9th place.
As for today's race, it's going to be 21 laps. They run about half-hour races for this series these days. It is open setup. We're expecting drivers to try and get some downforce into it, but as we were talking beforehand, being able to have straight line speed and having an opportunity to pass on the main straight really is ideal. So it's still a case of wanting to try and trim out the car when you can. No spare car, though. Thankfully, there's a lot of paved runoff out here. It is a little bit hard to hit the walls, but it is possible in a few places, along with hitting other cars. So got to try and play it safe, especially at the starts of the race. And drive-through penalty at 17, disqualification at 25. A bit of a concern if you abuse those runoffs too much at this circuit. We're watching Andy T right now, and he has not set a time yet. It does look like he is on his first flyer, if I'm seeing correctly. So Hopefully we'll be able to see what he's got on board for this first lap, as the timing line does come early, and he crosses. This was a flyer for him. A 28.5 is going to be good enough to beat Topi Kortaniemi the first time around by about 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, Andy T right back on top where he left things off, and no surprise, honestly, he's been one of the fastest competitors that I've ever seen in these Lotus 79 cars.
Really has become quite incredible. Now, he is not the winningest driver. He's not the GOAT, I guess, if you will. That belongs to Gernot Frische, who I do not see here today, sadly, to represent. He has the most wins, the most championships in the series, but he's been around a long time. Andy T's been around a long time, but he's kind of in and out. Hence why, despite him being incredibly fast, you don't see quite the numbers, as Juan Costa, who sits in third, is vying for the championship on his second flyer, needs to make up 3.5 tenths here, comes through the final turn through New Holland and across the line, and it's a 28.3, 6 tenths improvement. That's going to put him up to pole. T's got a couple more corners to try and go faster, and Kortaniemi just completed his lap. He goes into second and faster than Andy.
I thought Topi was going to steal it away there, and look at those lap times, 28.3, 28.5, 28.5 out of our top three, but what does Andy T have in his last lap?
He crosses the line. It's at 28.4. That's not going to do it for pole. Not going to get a bonus for that. So there is the perfect score right away gone for Andy T if he wanted that today, and that'll be a little more than pride for him, as Gerald Borel currently in sixth. Not a name I don't think that we've seen all that much here, if I can recall. I'll have to check the stats to see how much he's showed up in the past, if at all, but he's sitting in sixth, so clearly a pretty handy driver. This is one of the rare cases where we do not have a split. There's just this one race for this weekend's event.
You're right, we're getting 28 cars on the racetrack today, and I wonder if that's going to affect any of the racing maybe later on in the race, Joe, maybe in the last quarter of it. If we're going to see any lapped cars, I think that this racetrack is long enough with 1.5 minute lap time that shouldn't have to run into them, but might always come into play.
Comes across the line for that second lap, 29.4, about a tenth quicker, but that doesn't improve him from that sixth place. Alexander Oliveira is starting his second flyer. Looks like he had an off on the first one. So as we watch him weave through Elf and into Renault, he's got enough time to get back around, it looks like, to complete this lap. He's going to need it. We're missing, about 6 drivers that have not set a time at the very back of the field. This is not a track where you want to start at the back of the field.
No, and I'm seeing maybe a couple of them are trying to put down a lap currently, but the regulars like Jason Clapper, Kirk Clapper, I expect them to start at the back, but the one that I'm noticing, Dylan Freckleton, has not put down a lap yet.
Yeah, and Dylan tends to be a top 10 driver, so he's going to have a lot of hard work to find his way forwards. Seeing if anybody else can finish this one. Finnegan looks like he's about to complete a lap, and Jack Spickett as well. Jack's actually up in 8th, and he's going to improve by a fair amount of 29.3. That's going to move him up into 6th. Nicely done to the number 11 car. Oh, Finnegan has killed his lap. He is in pit lane, so he must have had an issue somewhere along the line. Oliveira currently rated 25th. We'll see if his pace matches that number on the car. And as he comes around the last couple corners, Europe car and into New Holland, well, he's going to park it. He comes into pit lane.
And here we got Barry West out here, and I don't know if Barry's actually going to be able to complete this lap with only about 15 seconds left. And that lap from Jack David Spickett, Joe, that's a big one because he comes into that F2 points championship right there neck and neck with Jason Clapper.
Yeah, that's a good point. We got to watch out for that. Usually we don't get to see a lot of those F2 drivers because of the split in this series, but a lot of them have shown up today. And, well, showing up at the top spot, Juan Costa takes the pole. He is here to try and take the fight to Andy T, who's going to be starting next to him with Topi Kortaniemi, last week's second place finisher, finishing in third, but he led the race briefly last time. Andreas Hankel was 4th, and Timothy Reed qualified in 5th. It was Jack Spickett, as we mentioned, qualifying P6 today ahead of Gerard Borel. It was Karthik Pai qualifying in 8th position, Tomas Bartfai 9th, and Brandon Merrill will round out your top 10.
Olivier Verhagen there in 11th spot, Nathan Finnegan 12th, Andreas Schuster 13th, Tim Britton and Keith Herner inside the top 15, Daniel Banker in 16th spot, David Rolliston 17th, Jason Carlo 18th, Ryan Freeman and Mitch Heller in the 20th position.
And it's a blast from the past. Our very own Sam Ryman has qualified in 21st today. Robert Simpkins, 22nd. A lot of drivers without a time. Dylan Freckleton, Barry West, Jason Clapper, Kurt Clapper, Alexandra Oliveira, and Germano Cervini down there of our 28 cars. So, last of them lining up here, and we are getting ready to go. Looks like we have pretty good temperatures. Not all that hot on the track surface itself, and very little wind to speak of. Britain lines up. We're just waiting on the last of the drivers, as I think Cervini in that number 27 is the final one that we need out on the grid. And he's not shown up yet. He does have a little bit of time, but it's only 15 seconds, or else he's starting from pit lane, which will be a little bit of a disadvantage because it will cost him more. Only about 5 seconds left. I think we can say that he's not going to be lining up. So only 27 on the grid here as the engines now start to rev and the lights come up for the penultimate rounds. And the green flag is out. Juan Mi Costa looks like he's decent off the line. T is going to try and slot in to cover off Topi Kortiniemi. And, ooh, a big cover off down to the inside. 3 wide, looking down for the lead the long way around. It looks like Kortiniemi might be able to take second away from T. No, good exit off of the second apex for Andy.
Really good racing from those front 3 through turns 1 and 2. And here they head down into another potential passing opportunity, but it's Costa over T. And looks like everybody throughout the field was able to get through turn 1. A couple cars off now in the gravel.
Yeah, trying to see who that is. Looks like Tim Britton, unfortunately, falls to the back of the field. And, oh, we got a big wreck coming down into Seat. Oh, it's a massive pileup. About 5 or 6 cars get involved in that one and fall to the very end of the field.
It all started with Tomas Bartfai getting in really deep into the corner there. Believe he ended up getting into Olivier Verhagen, and then multiple cars caught up in the wreck.
Wow, a bit sad to see so many get cost a chance at a good finish here right at the very beginning. But it is still Costa leading Andy T. Now, a little birdie has told us that T may have cranked in a little more wing than usual in the car. We don't know how much, as he loses a little traction coming out of Europe car. But I wonder if this is going to come back to bite him, considering he didn't take the pole today, Joey.
Well, and especially at a track like this where you need the downforce to stay out in front of this long straightaway here, you're really seeing that Andy T not make any ground currently on our leader Costa out there. And it's interesting because at Imola, it was the other way around. Andy T had a little bit less swing than his competitors.
Another incident for Brandon Merrill, who went off between Europe car and New Holland, unfortunately, and found the wall. He's taken it into pit lane. And only Andreas Schuster is the other one that has come down into pit lane. Now, there's usually no scheduled stops in this series. They go straight from start to finish over this sprint. So it's going to be very costly if you have to visit pit lane.
Yeah, and somebody who's not planning on visiting pit lane, I want to draw my eye to Dylan Freckleton because he is already up 12 positions, hunting down into the top 10 right now.
Fantastic stuff here for Dylan. So he is now sizing up Jason Carlo, who himself is up 8 spots. That incident at the start definitely helped a few drivers pick their way through and grab a lot of spots very easily. But the rest of the positions over the course of this race, not going to be quite that simple as they come down and around out of the final couple turns. A lot of long right-handers here to lead onto the front stretch, and you can see already how much the aero wake, even in these older F1 cars, are definitely affecting them.
We kind of know it as a DRS train when it comes to current stuff, and we're going to catch a replay here. I believe this is lap 1. Here comes Tomas Bartfai. He's going to come charging down the inside here and gets into Verhagen.
And being in the middle of the pack with very little room to avoid, yeah, they pile in from behind. They have no indication of what's going on. And unfortunately, well, it didn't seem to DNF many drivers. Andreas Schuster's the only one I see currently in there taking repairs. Merrill came back out after his separate incident. So that's the good news, I guess, is that it didn't take away a lot of drivers, but it was costly time-wise.
You're right. It's valuable track position that's lost, but hey, as long as the car isn't damaged and you can keep going, you're right. Put it in gear, get back out on the racetrack. You still got a mission to do.
ADT's on a mission. He needs a good finish here. That'll put him in a good spot. But Juan Micosta, of course, needs to really gain quite a few positions over him as it goes. He's taken the bonus, 2 bonus points for pole. There's 2 more bonus points for fastest lap as well. And I'll have to check to see who's got that currently. I think Andy T actually does, from what I can tell on my timing screen. But they come around to complete lap 3. And there has been very little change at the top of the field. Top 5 are still exactly where they began.
Yeah, and I think everybody's kind of settling into a groove, but the one thing that is staying consistent that I'm seeing is just Andy T is not making any ground on the straightaway. He's getting ever so closer through these corners every lap, but if you can't get by him on the straightaway, it's been proven here at Barcelona, things get very tough to make a pass.
I have to check and see. We actually have a little bit of behind-the-scenes help on what the points would do, and trying to put them into position to see what exactly a second-place finish will result in here for Andy T. Because, again, he has drop weeks to help him out right now, and he can actually miss one more, technically. So if he does have an accident, he's not completely out of it. It just really puts him under the gun and is basically almost in a straight fight with Juan Mi from that point. Tomas Bartfai, as we hop on board with him, sitting all the way back in 21st, lost 12 positions, unfortunately.
Well, this was one of those cars involved in that first lap incident, and here you see he's trying to line up Robert Simpkins in front of him, gets a good run, going down to the inside, and already got the pass done as he gets hard on the brakes here, go around this long U-turn, and Tomas Bartfai trying to make his way back through the field after that mistake.
Simpkins just about went off course there. Costa taking the fastest lap right back as side by side coming out of Bonks Abadel. It's unfortunately going to cost another position. Robert, even though he had the inside, sees Verhagen managed to get past him into 21st. So down the front stretch now, those two trying to get some of those positions back. Dylan Freckleton in the meantime with all of his gained spots from those incidents. Oh, he's going to easily go by Gerald Borrell, who does not, Gerard Borrell, who does not fight him into Repsol. So that's up to 9th spot for Dylan.
Yeah, up 14 so far. Currently our biggest mover and not even halfway through the race. He's got a little bit of ground to go to catch up to Nathan Finnegan. We'll see if he can climb that mountain.
Yeah, it's not too far away. We're still super early in the race as well. So he's got time. If he's got the pace, he'll have opportunities. If he can catch up to him and try to put the pressure on. Clearly, he's figured out how to try and pass here as we jump a little bit farther forward. Topi Kortinimi. Now, here's where I think the fly in the ointment comes for Andy T as well. He could catch up to Juan Mi here, Joey, but if he tries to pass, it's surely going to slow both of them up, and Topi's right there.
I agree. It's kind of a double-edged sword that Andy is facing right now. Is you go up there and try to take the lead knowing that it's going to be a difficult pass, and then Topi's going to be right in the line of the buffet to pick up the pieces. But I think right now Andy T is in a position that we don't usually see him, and that's hanging out in the 2nd spot, not out front in clean air.
Yeah, it's a little bit different from what we witnessed at Imola, even though he did have to try and fight his way back to the lead. but he started ahead of him. He qualified ahead of him. It makes me wonder if Costa's pace is legitimately just enough faster that Andy can't seem to do anything with it. And I guess we'll find out over the next couple laps here with about 15 more to go to decide whether or not he does have the pace behind them. It's not too far back to Hankel there in fourth, doing a very good job to run along with this very elite group, frankly. These are some very fast drivers there. So Andreas is holding his own.
And you'll have to educate me a little bit more on Andreas, because I agree. I don't recognize Henkel's name, but he's doing a great job just hanging out here in the fourth place position. And you're right, Joe. If the front three get battling, Andreas is going to be right here as well.
Well, Andreas is a regular here. He's been racing for actually a lot of years, I'd say, in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, but he only has one podium to his name that I can see. So I'm not sure if he's gotten one since then over the course of this season, but he's just outside of getting his second one, if that is the case. And it's starting to look like, from what we can see on our cameras, that Costa's a little bit loose out in front, so maybe he also trimmed it out in comparison to Andy.
I think he definitely did, and one thing's for sure is that if you got a loose car around this place, it usually means you're running minimum downforce levels, but that means it handles really good down the straights, Joe.
So I'm getting an interesting bit of information. Apparently Hankel was one of the pros in the IR01 series, so he used to have a black stripe and open wheels here on iRacing, which is not easy. And there was another big slide there coming down through vert from Juanmi Costa. He's got to watch out. If he pushes the limits a little bit too hard and just touches the grass during one of those slides, that could be disastrous.
Well, I'm even thinking further down the road from that is that, yeah, you could go out and touch the grass and have a bad day, but what's going to happen in the last 5 laps of the race if you keep abusing the tires now?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not too hot out there on the track surface, but these older tires do build up some heat and are hard to bring back. So he doesn't want to try and overcook those rears too much as he completes lap 7, now into lap 8, keeping Andy T at arm's length. Oh, Gerard Borel just had a problem, and he's losing many positions. He's down to 14th. This happened in Bonk Sabadell, and I'm not sure what quite caused it, or if it was just something on his own. Let's see. Nobody close to him, so this might have been a self-spin.
Yeah, he just carries too much entry speed here, Joe. Car gets loose on him, ends up spinning it around on his own, and then you'll see several cars come in here and pass him. He does the right thing, trying to stay out of the racing line, and just barely squeaks through.
Good timing on his part to manage to get it turned forward and get rolling at least, but he still falls all the way to 14th, loses about 7 positions in the process. Unfortunate for him. Back to the lead once again. It's just been hovering at about 6 to 7 tenths of a second between Andy and Juanmi. And these two have raced against each other a lot. So the bad news for Andy in that case is they already know each other's tricks.
Yeah, you're going to have to come up with something new to attack, and I really like the position that Juanmi is in, as long as he can keep the tires underneath the car. That's, I think, the only downfall in this strategy a little bit, is that if he burns his stuff up too much now, what is he going to have at the end of the race?
Come back to Borel, and he's going to try and make a move coming down into Lakaja. Gets to the inside of Ryan Freeman. Freeman fights and sees if he can hang tough around the outside, but no, it's not meant to be. He has to give it up to the number 10. So that's back up to P13 now for him as we ride on board with Oliveira at the tail of this train.
Yeah, actually a pretty good train here as Burrell starts to kind of scoot away, but that means it's Ryan Freeman, Jason Clapper now trying to make a move right here to get that 14th position, and looks like he's going to have the inside line going into turn 1. We'll see if he takes it on the brakes. Braking duel, and they stay side by side. Now Clapper's clear in turn 2.
Freeman bleeding spots. Unfortunately, Oliveira is closing in behind, but was unable to capitalize. So he looks for maybe one into Repsol. We've seen passes into there before, but not today. Not nearly close enough The three carry on, plunging down the hill. There is a fair bit of elevation change at this track, I will say.
Oh, definitely. And I think it's in some very tricky parts, including that corner that we were watching right there. It's downhill and just adds to the braking distance. You think you're going to have the grip in the front end, and it just never seems to get there.
I almost feel like the car either gets really loose or just understeers like mad through that corner. And climbing up over the crest through Campsa. Unfortunately, not a big enough run for Freeman to try and fight back on Clapper, but he has rebuffed Oliveira at least for now. And Andy T just took the fastest lap.
We just had a huge incident between Barry West and Nathan Finnegan through the last corner here on lap number 9. Not exactly sure what happened, but both of them still stuck out in the gravel.
I think Barry West was trying to let him lap him, and it was just a miscommunication situation there. Not expecting such a slow car. Finnegan almost flies over top of him. Here, watch this. Whoa. He lands on his wheels, and he is still going, but he's in the pit lane and is going to have to take repairs. Not too big of a surprise with how high into the air he launched there.
And, you know, I gotta say, that's actually pretty similar to what an impact would be in real life. When you hit the wheels together like that, you have two rotating masses, and they kind of bounce off each other into some dramatic fashion.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the results were not great for him. Back to T. Still stuck at that half second behind Costa. Cortinelli falling back just a little bit. He's about 9/10 behind now, and they're starting to drop Hankel. It's about 2 seconds down to that number 4 machine. And onto the front stretch once again. Is T regretting putting whatever wing he had into this car just before he came into this session?
Yes, I think so, yes. You know, we're used to seeing Andy T be really aggressive out front, and right now I just feel like he's frustrated. He's just stuck there.
There's really been almost no action between them, just this tense standoff that we're seeing, hovering at this half second to about 7/10 of a second at most between them. There is the lap comparison, and it does look like T has gained over the last 5 laps, maybe a bit more than Costa's been able to pull away. So he's tightened it down, but how much closer can he get? Because he's going to have to get right up on him if he wants to make a pass attempt.
And I also think that's just kind of the benefit of being in the slipstream, Joe, is that you get the tow around the entire lap, and you get that benefit of just kind of having that additional speed boost of following the leader in front of you. And it's going to have to close it up more significantly than just a few hundredths every lap.
Yeah, we're getting close to the halfway mark. Actually, yeah, we've just passed the halfway mark of this race. So time's going to start running out. And if he can't manage to get closer than this, he's going to have to settle for second. Something's got to change here if Andy T wants this win. But credit to Juanmi Costa for trying to do everything he can to change the outcome of this season and get himself another win. He's already taken 2 so far. Mandicore and Zandvoort. He took the top spot, missed out last time out at Imola, was not vying for the win. And Topi Cortinemi instead was the one that was trying to battle it out with Andy T. As we head back now to Mitch Heller in the 11th position. That's David Rolliston, another driver we don't see a lot of in the top split, who is up from 17th here today.
Really good run from David so far. Cracked the top 10, but he's got company behind him. That's Mitch Heller we're watching, Gerard Burrell there, and Jason Clapper also joining this party. And Jason Clapper, another one of those big movers, up 12 spots. And I think this is pretty good racing for here at Barcelona. Halfway through the race, and we got a pack of 4 cars fighting for one position. Ooh. Oh, looks like Heller got really loose.
Massively loose. That's going to check all of them up. Almost 3 wide for a moment. Gerard's going to go around the outside, but way too far around the outside now. He starts to lose out as he locks it up. Clapper tries to hang with him. Great exit for Gerard. He tries to attack down into Vert, but that is a single file corner, and Heller just feeds him out.
It's not over yet. As long as Burrell can stay close through the sweeper, he can be tucked in the draft, maybe throw a late break here at Heller coming into this left-hander. He looks around the outside. Can he make it happen?
He's going to give it a go. He's very good on the brakes. Into Lakaja, and they tangle. They tangle. So Jason Clapper says, now's my time. He tries to come up alongside him. Up through Bonk Sabadell. No, the grip is not there. It's getting feisty here for a top 10 spot.
Gerard was trying to stick it around the outside, and you saw him trying to squeeze the throttle in, try to keep the car straight, just a little bit of contact, but here we are down the straightaway, reset, another lap in the books. Let's try it again.
Not many times as we've seen that you can get away with that wheel-to-wheel contact there. Borrell's got to be careful and make sure that he brings this car to the finish. He's already had his own mistake, and now he's made contact with another driver. 9 laps to go. He's trying to catch back up to Mitch, but behind him, Jason Clapper is beginning to fill his mirrors.
And I'm always a sucker for the data. Jason Clapper actually has the fastest lap out of these 3 that we're watching, so maybe if Jason is able to clear him, can run away from this group.
They plunge down the hill once more into vert. They're going to become equidistant once again. Maybe everybody just hitting that reset button, try to get themselves back into working order before they make another attack. Does look like Borrell's slipping up a bit here and losing a bit of space on Mitch Heller. So Jason Clapper shows his nose, but then comes back to the racing line down into Lakaja. We're not missing anything up front. This is really where the action is right now. The top 3 have been still stuck in the position you've seen them in all race.
Yeah, and Borrell's up there attacking Mitch Heller now. We just saw Jason Clapper was the one that was applying pressure, but Gerard has found a little bit of speed in the last half of this lap. See what kind of run he gets out onto the front straight, and looks like he's definitely close enough, only about a quarter of a second back and half a straightaway left.
Ooh, he's got a good chance. He's going to look to the inside. Borrell manages to get a nose ahead. We know he's good on the brakes, and he shows it there as he outbrakes Heller and puts himself into 11th.
And here comes Clapper. He's going to try to take advantage of that open door, but Mitch Heller shuts it promptly and says, no, you're going to have to find a new way around. But like I mentioned, I think that number 14 car is actually the fastest of the bunch. He's just got to get by into some clean air.
It's a big question mark for me, because we know that Gerard is a little bit out of position. And now that he's gotten ahead, look at that. He's already putting some distance on them. It's all a question mark of whether or not Jason can overtake. Oh, they got a car off. Trying to make out who that was. That was David Rolliston. So everybody gets promoted 1 position in that group.
Yeah, unfortunate there for David Rolliston, just having a little bit of incident by himself. And you see how much track position he loses. We're going to catch this replay, and he ends up just getting loose on the throttle, I believe. Joe just too happy with that right foot.
Yeah, you're right. I thought maybe it would have been the curbs, because this car rides so low, and those are tall sausage curbs on the outside, but he just gooses it and falls down to 20th because of it. Doesn't hit anything, but it's a lot of positions lost. Back on board with Jason Clapper coming down the front stretch. He's got a pretty good run. How brave does he want to be? Heller goes a little bit defensive, and I think that's going to cover him off, at least this time.
He put the car right in the middle of the racetrack, just what he needed to do. Don't change your brake markers or anything like that. Just make Jason Clapper go the long way around, which it forces him to do. But looks like Mitch Heller is trying to hang on to the car right now. It looks like maybe the tires have started to go off underneath him.
Yeah, all this battling takes its toll, and it's certainly helping out Gerard. He is just gone. He has checked out. Ooh, that was a bit of a slide there from Mitch. Clapper, does he dare? He thinks about it. No, he's going to back out before they get into vert.
Yeah, just once again places his car right in the proper spot to make Jason Clapper go the long way around. And I tell you what, if you're Jason Clapper right now, you're getting frustrated, but it's all fair racing. You have to make the pass cleanly.
He is right on top of him. Jason has got the bit between his teeth today. We usually see him start from the back like this, but he's Whoa, and that's going to be an easy pass because there goes Mitch Heller around out of Bon Sabadell. Thankfully doesn't hit anybody. He's got to wait patient to get back on the circuit. And there we go.
And in fact, Samuel Ryman just had a spin right behind Mitch Heller there. Just kind of the same thing. They're both back on track, pointed the right way. And get a quick replay here, Joe.
Sam's going to be kicking himself for that one. I know. Oh, and he had another off just now, unfortunately. Wonder if he's got a little bit of damage or something, as the car does not seem to be handling right. Just completely lost on his own. Very similar to what we saw there with Heller, unfortunately. Sam is experienced in this car. He's raced it a lot in the Lionheart series, where they run the 79 on a lot of ovals, actually, which this car is quite a lot of fun on those tracks.
And that would be something else. You know, I do like these cars on the road course here, but to throw them on an oval, that would definitely be fun to call, and I'd like to see that one.
They have run that car for a lot of years, so you could probably hop over there. I think they're still on Race Spot, but big shout out to them, as we used to cover them, but they have since left the channel. But definitely a lot of love for the Lionheart folks who have been around for many years as they chase down through the first couple of corners. Andy T versus Costa has separated. It is now 1 second between P1 and P2. And it seems like Andy T is indeed looking like he'll have to settle for second unless something dramatic happens. As we got some side-by-side racing. Ooh, a lot of sliding there for Verhagen as he just runs out of grip.
Now, Verhagen was one of these cars that was caught up in that lap 1 mess, Joe. He's also trying to make his way back through. He's currently in the 14th spot, looking at the back of Daniel Banker's car. And if he can get by both of these, maybe has a shot at a top 10, but I don't think so with only 5 laps left.
Yeah, it'll be a bit of a stretch. He needs to make a lot of moves very quickly. Back to Spickett in his hopes for the F2 championship. Actually, I'll have to check and see where the other F2 drivers sit right now, but I would guess that 7th place has them ahead of all of the others here, and actually hunting down Karthik Pai, it appears.
I've been watching these two, just keeping an eye on it, and Jack David Spickett and Karthik Pai have been locked together in this battle almost all race, Joe. Jack David Spickett's just been hounding the back of Karthik Pai, but Pai just refuses to make any mistakes out there. And to mention that F2 championship, I believe the closest competitor is Jason Clapper back there, who's just about 4 spots back in 11th.
And let's not forget that it's a 3-point gap between those top two, so this actually could be a bit decisive for the championship, because I think this will put Spickett in the points lead coming into the last race. Some of that might come down to the drop points. We'll have to watch and see, as Karthik Pai is starting to get maybe a little nervous here because Jack's getting ever closer to that yellow rear wing.
It was really interesting to watch those two lines differ coming through that long sweeping corner. Both of them are searching for the clean air out there, and I think maybe Karthik Pai struggling a little bit with the high-speed understeer, and Jack David Spickett just searching for the clean air to get on his front wing.
Ooh, and Verhagen just had contact just now. Gets spun around by Daniel Banker. He catches the car, but he's going to lose a couple spots in the process. It was a valiant effort, but the number 15, who is also in the hunt for that F2 championship, he sits 3rd in the points, was trying to make up the ground, and it has gone awry. Here it is.
Almost,
the wheel.
Yeah, almost clear, but just not quite enough. And I tell you what, the day for Verhagen right now has been a frustrating one, but he's still chugging along, doing a great job to see that checkered flag.
Oh, and now Spickett goes off. Jack is off the course, and it's trying to find it as he's way off into nowhere coming through New Holland. That's going to be Dylan Freckleton able to get by. He's well ahead of Jason Carlo, so he's only going to lose the 1 spot. But again, this could be valuable in the championship. He needs every point he can get. I think he did this to himself.
Yeah,
big snap.
Yeah, the car got really loose on entry, and I also think he was just really narrow on that turn, and Bad combination, but great quick hands from Jack David Spickett to save the car.
Yeah, really, my goodness. The way that thing twitched, I can't believe he caught it and is able to get it going once again. Back to our leaders. Going to be 2 to go when they cross the line. Costa and T back to those 7/10 apart, and Cortiniemi has been dropped like a bad habit.
Yeah, all the way 2 seconds back from these front two now. Just gotta hope that they start racing in order to catch up to these front two, because they are in another league.
That pass for Freckleton that he made on Spickett there, that put him 16 up. That is absolutely incredible. We also had some sort of issue with Daniel Banker. I'm checking to see if this one's worth seeing. No, he just spun himself. So Banker gives that spot back to Verhagen after Verhagen had lost it trying to go by him about a lap ago. We continue to watch the top two. Juan Costa. Does he have the fastest lap right now? No, he does not. So he's not going to get a perfect score. And honestly, he's probably going to need every point he can get if he wants to challenge T down in the last race.
I agree with you, and I love that he doesn't have the fastest lap, but we're splitting hairs here. I mean, it's what, 0.02 of a second or so that he doesn't have the fastest lap, and that just shows you the level of competition out here, and you really got to be on your game if you want to claim that top step against any of these competitors.
Yeah, we mentioned Hankel racing in the IR01 series a few seasons ago. This place kind of bred those drivers. There was a lot of black stripes that have and do race in this series. So it really is just an incredible level of talent out here. As we got some side-by-side down into turn one. Let's see who's going to come out ahead between Banker and Heller. That's going to be Heller taking 17th.
Good job. These cars still have a full 2 laps left here, a little bit further back in the field as our leader gets the white flag. And Joe, I want to mention one more thing about Andy T since his race is coming to an end. He fell all the way back to 1 second, flirting with that gap of losing the slipstream. And I really didn't think he was going to have anything for Juan Mi, but he has kept the bit between his teeth. He has not given up at all. He's hoping, pressurizing Juan Mi for a mistake, even here with less than 1 to go.
Here's what I wonder, too, because Andy's actually a very clever driver as well, and we have heard them talk about the intent to try and get those bonus points. I wonder if he dropped back intentionally to get some clean air and try to take that fastest lap, which if he did, he was successful, because, again, just a few hundredths quicker than Costa. We'll see if Juan Mi can do anything to try and take that back here on the last lap, because the cars do get lighter as the fuel burns off.
Well, and I'm looking at that lap time. Only a couple more corners left, and Juan Mi Costa is on pace to set fast lap right now, but still got a few corners left.
And we're getting word that Andy will lock out the championship with this second place. So this is it. This is a winning drive for him, even though he will not take the top spot of the podium today, because Juan Mi Costa is going to win the battle, but the war goes to Andy T, clinching the championship with P2. Cortiniemi is going to round out the podium.
You see the happy wiggles from Andy T, and even a 360 down the front straight.
Doesn't care about that safety rating. He just wants to celebrate as we watch the last of the drivers try to battle for position here up and into camps. Verhagen, Britton, Freeman trying to decide 12th place.
Yeah, still got a few corners left, including this big brake zone that they're going to go into right here and see if anybody oversteps the limit. Little bit wide there.
Holds on to it, though. He's going to be shallow down into Bonk Sabadell, but it's hard to pass in this long uphill right-hander. And Britton's more concerned about Verhagen for a brief moment. He was having to play some defense as they come around the final corner. Ryan Freeman is going to be able to clinch that 12th spot over Britton and Verhagen. And that's the last of our battles. Only 21 managed to finish on the lead lap for this race. Stick around because there's more to come. We have the official results as well as driver interviews coming your way after the break.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings, where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Barcelona. We just watched the penultimate round of the Sunday Grand Prix series, and we have crowned a champion once again. Juan Costa took the win by less than a second over Andy T, who hounded him the whole race. And Andy, I'm guessing, knew the point situation enough, hence why maybe we didn't see him fight that hard on Costa, because with that second place, he is once again champion here in the Sunday Grand Prix series. Topi Kortaniemi took a third, was not able to keep up with them by the end of the race. And Andreas Henkel couldn't get that podium that he was looking for, needing to add to that tally. But I'm sure that'll come around based on the speed we saw today. Timothy Reed was fifth and Karthik Pai P6. Dylan Freckleton, failing to set a lap time in qualifying, climbed from 23rd to 7th at a track that is known for being tough to overtake. That deserves a pat on the back for him. Jack David Spickett moves himself, I believe, into the points lead in F2 with that 8th place. Jason Carlo was 9th, and Clapper, though he got a top 10, also climbing up 15 positions, finished behind Spickett and falls to P2 in the points.
Yeah, there we go. Gerard Borrell there in the 11th spot. Kind of an up and down day. We highlighted him quite a bit there. Ryan Freeman, 12th. Tim Burton, 13th. Olivier Verhagen, not the day that he wanted to have here at Barcelona, coming home 14th. Kurt Clapper in the top 15 there. David Rolliston, 16th. Mitch Heller, Daniel Banker in 18th. Samuel Raymond there, 19th. And Keith Herner in the 20th position.
21st goes to Oliveira. Last one on the lead lap, Cervini 22nd and Merrill 23rd. I think they were both involved in that opening wreck, unfortunately. Finnegan with a DNF, and everybody behind him did not see the checkered flag. Unfortunately, a bit of attrition here today at this place for a lot of drivers. So that takes us to our winner, Juan Costa, who, as I mentioned, managed to win the race, but not the championship with this one. So a bit of a bittersweet victory, I'm sure, Juanmi.
Hello, thank you. No, it's fine for me to win a race, and congratulations to Andy. He did a perfect championship.
It's got to be a bit frustrating trying to go up against someone of his caliber, but clearly you stepped up the game today. It wasn't just down to I think him giving up on you, because you took pole away. Did that surprise you?
Yes, I expect Andy to be a little bit faster, but surprising for me, I take it the pole.
And of course, that helps you probably try and keep that second place in the points. You've got one more to go. We're heading off to Hockenheim, another modern F1 track. Do you think the trend will carry on? Can you manage to beat him one more time? Just for I guess personal pride over in Germany.
Yeah, I think I could try to make to count all the points in podium. I have to drop one week, so I try. So let's see if someone new comes in. We had Andreas. Happy to see him back.
Absolutely. And certainly looks like the talent level continues to rise here. Congratulations. Anybody that you want to thank that helped get you the victory today?
Thanks to you for the broadcast. And again, congratulations to Andy.
Well, thank you. That was Juan Micosa, your winner. Speaking of Andy, our once again crowned champion, Joey has caught up with him.
Well, Andy, congratulations on taking the championship here in these Lotus 79 cars.
I literally just got connected. We have lag issues.
I was just saying congrats on taking the championship today, Andy. What a race from you.
Yeah, not so much a race for me as a dear Lord, I haven't driven a full race stint on this setup. I hope it works. But we got there.
Yeah, well, and talk to me a little bit about that. I know that you're going to be celebrating the championship and spraying champagne later like any championship does, but you're right. It seemed like you didn't have the pace for Juan Micosta, or what were you lacking up there to go get that final checkered flag?
Checking if you can hear me. You got me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, cool. Probably the ridiculous amount of driving required to beat someone who's fast and does a ridiculous amount of driving, in all honesty. In the back of my mind, I was just, there's no point going crazy this week because I think I needed 8th and Juanmi had to perfectly win the last 2 races. So there wasn't so much on the line that meant I needed to go crazy practicing.
Well, and that was actually leading me to my last question. Knowing the position that you had in the championship going into today, did that affect how you prepared your car setup or how you raced on the racetrack?
I mean, I think my set was as fast as I could go, but it's getting the seat time on a track. I haven't driven this track in like maybe 2 years, I want to say. So I needed some work on confidence rather than just setup preparation. I think my set was as fast as I could make it, like absolutely. But, you know, if you don't have the seat time underneath you, it's going to be really tough when the guy ahead's super fast.
Well, it's a great point that Andy is making, is that it's not only the car setup underneath you, but it's also the practice time that each competitor puts in. But Andy, you put in enough practice time to claim the championship this season. And before I let you go, who do you want to thank?
I mean, the usual suspects. Hoops for putting up with me every Sunday. Thank you so much. You're the best. All the regulars who watch and give me support. All the regular community guys who turn up week in, week out. Wouldn't be anything in this car without those guys. Yeah, thanks everyone. And you guys for the great broadcast, because without this broadcast, I probably wouldn't be racing this car.
Well, that was Andy T coming home second place today at Barcelona, but ultimately the series champion.
It looks like we've got a visit from Sam Ryman, who did manage to finish on the lead lap down in 19th, but a bit of an event-filled race, it seems. Sam, I understand you're fresh back into sim racing after a brief break yourself. How does it feel to be back in the car? Trying to see if we can get Sam hooked up here. Might still be also getting used to the microphone once again. We'll give him a chance to try and get himself all set up and the right settings connected here. Sam, do you have a copy? We might not get to talk to Sam today, which is a bit of a shame. But obviously the number 17 putting in a hard race out there to try and bring it home into 19th. So maybe we'll try and talk to Sam another day, as it is going to be the final round coming up soon. But before we get there, we want to take another week break and thank the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, along with a thank you to our team today, Joey, Ryan, Dougie, and a big thanks to Michael the Turk, are basically becoming the unofficial stats man for this series behind the scenes. Make sure to check out our social media website and merchandise store. You can find the links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race for this series will be at Hockenheim, Sunday, March 5th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts on the channel. Up next today, the MX5 World Sim Series is going to Silverstone at 4 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.